Welcome to episode 6 of Media Conversations with Malik Cooper. I'm your host, Malik Cooper, joined today by sports editor of Winthrop's weekly student news publication, the Johnsonian, Matthew Shealy. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, man. It's an honor.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. You can follow Matthew on Twitter and Instagram at Shealy Sports for updates on all the work he's doing. Before I start, however, I wanted to make the quick announcement that the official release date for this podcast will be every second Monday starting with this episode, meaning you can expect episode 7 on March 28th. Thank you all for your continued support of this podcast, and I can't wait to get more content out. Without further ado, however, let's get right down to business. Obviously, you love sports to have pursued your position as sports editor at the Johnsonian, but I wanted to know if there's a specific moment you can tell me about where you knew you wanted to do this for your career as an adult.
Oh man, so yeah, I played sports growing up, but I was also into music, and I was in the band in middle school, and I thought for a while that I wanted to be like a band director, and it wasn't until like junior, senior year of high school I kind of realized that wasn't what I wanted to do full time. So I just began looking for like what's something else I'm good at, and not only good at, but I enjoy, because I don't want to work. I want to work, but I want it to be something that's fun. And so mass communication is just kind of something that popped up when I was doing college tours, and I just kind of gave it a chance, and it stuck, and I've just fallen in love with it. It's really fun just talking to the people who are in sports, and I just enjoy it. So I guess specific timing, probably a senior year of high school doing college tours.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It really hadn't crossed my mind as something that was even out there to pursue before that.
So after you made the transition and chose mass communications as what you wanted to do, was there a moment where you knew in college that you had made the right decision?
I would say probably, well, I don't know. It felt right just to begin with, I felt like it was going well, and I guess freshman year, I got an interview, or maybe it was sophomore year, late freshman year, early sophomore year, one of those two. I got an interview with Coach Pat Kelsey, who was the current coach of the men's basketball team. Brett Redden in athletics set me up, and I got to do that for a little podcast for the Palmetto Report, which is something that Dr. Casco in the mass comm department, it's a little website he has. And I got to sit down in Kelsey's office and talk with him for 10 or 15 minutes. And I think that if you're looking for a defining moment, that was where I was like, that was cool. I want to do more of that,
So can you tell me a little more in detail about how you got that interview with Coach Pat Kelsey? Because one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the experience you get as an underclassman mass comm major. Because on episode 5, I was talking to a mass comm major at the University of South Carolina, and he was talking about how if he had not joined the student Gamecock television network, that he would have felt like his first 2 years at USC weren't as meaningful as they should have been with just his introductory courses, which, as you know, aren't always completely related to your major.
Oh yeah, definitely. So how that interview got set up, I'd reached out to Kelsey previously for a story for the Johnsonian. We were covering something with the basketball team. I don't remember what it was at all, but I reached out to Kelsey and didn't hear back from him, but at some point had heard back from Brett Redden, who is sports information director, communications guy, do it all in athletics here at Winthrop. And he had sent me a message back, and it said, well, I can set you up. And so I kind of forgotten about that. And this was for something different. And I was going, how am I going to get in touch with Kelsey? Because he's a busy man, and I'm just a little student, unimportant to him. And so I reached out to Brett, and lo and behold, he got back with me and agreed to set up that interview, even though I didn't have any cred whatsoever, no credibility at that point in time other than just being a Winthrop student. So Brett set it up, and agreed on the time. And I remember getting to the Coliseum, and I had never met Brett, and I met him at the door, and he like ushers me through the Coliseum. Like I had never been anywhere except for like in the gymnasium part, and he ushers me through the hallways like back to this what seemed like this secret location. Now I know better. Like it's just down the hallway, but it was Coach Kelsey's office, and it just felt super official at the time. Yeah, if I hadn't have been working for the Johnsonian and had tried to reach out in the first place and had made that contact, even though at the time I didn't think of it as a contact, but had I not been working for the Johnsonian and been in touch with Brett that first time, I wouldn't have known who to reach, and I'd probably end up had an email sitting in Coach Kelsey's inbox to this day unopened.
So working for the Johnsonian and making connections like Brett is what made your underclassmen time at Winthrop meaningful.
It definitely boosted it for sure. And I would encourage anybody to do something with student publications or something, other than just your classes. It definitely was a shot in the arm, to have that. And I felt like kind of put me ahead of some other students, kind of advanced me in my career.
You've held your position of sports editor for the Johnsonian since August of 2020. And in that time, Winthrop won the Big South Conference Championship in basketball, just as one example of massive events that you've had to cover. What are some of the most memorable moments you can tell me about from your time covering Winthrop athletics?
This year in particular, our men's soccer team got to host a home quarterfinal in the Big South Conference tournament, and which was something they hadn't done in several years. The previous season, I don't think they won a game. They had a really down year, and so they hosted a quarterfinal this year. And I'm not someone that's big into soccer, but it was a really big deal for them, and they won it. And just to see the excitement on the players' faces and stuff afterward, I got to talk to Coach, who was super emotional. It meant a lot to him that they had won that. That one was really big. Let's see, other things. Not like a huge story, but one thing I got to do this past fall was attend the media day for men's and women's basketball, the preseason, where they revealed all the preseason polls and stuff. And we got to sit down with not just the Winthrop coaches, but I got to sit down with a couple other coaches from around the league and pick their brains about their team and how they expected the season to go and all that. So that was a really cool opportunity. There have been other things outside of Winthrop sports even that I've really appreciated getting to cover. I wrote a story junior year about the Panthers facility coming to town and talked to Mayor Gettys of Rock Hill, and at the time the York County Council chairman. So that was an interesting experience to cover something outside of like games, and outside of talking to athletes and coaches, but talking to like important people in the community. That was kind of an interesting experience. And another similar kind of interesting experience was we covered Miracle Park in Rock Hill as it was slowly being built, or in the beginning stages of being built, which Miracle Park isn't like an inclusive park for all children of whatever capabilities they have. And it's right near Winthrop Coliseum. And so getting to talk to the director of that project was really, really neat, and kind of getting to write about like what this opportunity is coming to Rock Hill. It was really neat to cover that and kind of be able to tell people like why this is important that it's coming to Rock Hill.
So in the Winthrop Journalism School, you get to cover not just sports, but a wide variety of different topics and talk to lots of different people in the Rock Hill community and beyond.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and it's as much as you put into it. As much as you put in, you get out. So as far as you're willing to go is, as far as it can take.
Can you tell me about the staff setup of the Johnsonian as it is and what your responsibilities are as the sports editor?
Sure, absolutely. We have an editor-in-chief, and we have a managing editor, and then we have different section editors. So our sections are arts, culture, tech, and sports and news. And I'm the sports editor. We also have assistant editors. So there's an assistant sports editor, assistant news editors, I believe 2. And then, we have staff writers and whatnot. And so my job as a sports editor is a variety of things. Identify stories that we can cover each week because it's a weekly publication. Present those stories at our Sunday night meetings, and hopefully people say, hey, I want to take that story. I want to write that story. But if they don't, reaching out to people and saying, hey, could you cover this week? I think you do a good job, and it's an important story. And so then as the week progresses, staying in touch with those writers and making sure they're on track, contacting the sources they're supposed to contact, and if not, if something has gone awry, maybe their source hasn't gotten back with them, all right, well, let's troubleshoot, let's try and contact this person instead, or do this instead. But so as this is going on, we don't have enough writers for me to just sit back and relax all week. So I've got to pick up at least one story each week, and same for the assistant sports editor, Lily Freeman. And sometimes we got to pick up 2 stories a week, which can get busy with school, and classes and everything. So we try and push the second stories away to somebody else and only write one a week. But something new that's kind of been put on my plate this year is doing layout for the sports section. We used to have a layout editor who laid out the whole paper, but with budget cuts and stuff, we've refrained that or divvied that up amongst the section editors. So I'm now in charge of laying out our 2 sports pages each week, which is due on Monday nights, or sometimes the wee hours of Tuesday morning when I push it to the deadline and my editor gets mad at me. But that's been an interesting thing is learning how to kind of how the visual aspect of how it's supposed to look, not just I get to write my story and turn it into somebody, but also having to be the one to put it on the paper with other people's stories. And can't forget pictures. Pictures are objectively more important than the stories themselves, because that's what draws the reader's attention and catches their eye. So you've got to know how to make the pictures the right size, and just make it all look presentable and pleasing to the eye. So all of this, man, keeps me busier than maybe you'd expect during the week, especially when I've got classes and stuff going on, and I've got to put those first. But I can't just forget about this stuff, because even though I'm not getting paid very much, there's a very small salary that comes with it, and I don't want to lose that either.
Would you say that all those challenges that you have to go through better serve you for, or better prepare you for your career, or would you say that it needs to be more manageable for whoever becomes the next sports editor?
I'd say the former. It better serves me, and it's I think it's just something that kind of comes with the role, and I don't always enjoy it. Yeah, obviously sometimes it's a headache, but I think it's pretty set up how it needs to be. I definitely enjoy getting to do the layout, even though it's something else on my plate and on my shoulders that I've got to worry about each week. It'd be easier to let somebody else do it, but I really enjoy putting my fingerprint on that and getting to decide how our stories look, as opposed to someone else, because if someone else does it, I might look at it and say, well, I wish they had done this and this and this, and it would have looked better, in my opinion, that way. But now if I open it up and see something that would have looked better, that's my fault. I had the opportunity. So I like getting to put my own fingerprint on the layout. And, I think communication is necessary, contacting or keeping in touch with the writers and stuff. Communication is something I'm not going to get out of doing in the real world, so to speak. Keeping in touch. And I might be the low man on the totem pole entering, coming out of college, but I'm still going to have to communicate with people above me. So I think it's all necessary. And I think, like you said, it serves me better for sure when I'm hopefully getting a job here in the next few months.
You do sports editing, and you were talking about the layup that you have to design for the weekly publication. What do you do with other forms of media outlets, such as podcasting or other just forms of multimedia journalism?
In the past, I mentioned Dr. Casco. He's a great professor at Winthrop in the mass comm department. I would consider him a mentor in some ways. He's got a website called the Palmetto Report, and so I took his class for the Palmetto Report one semester, and he really focused on doing a variety of things, not just writing the stories, but for one story or two stories, we checked out cameras from the mass comm department and took photos to go with our stories. For one story, like I mentioned, Pat Kelsey interview, that was one where we had like a 10 or 15 minute podcast we had to record. I did another podcast where I interviewed Cam West, he ended up being a finalist on The Voice, NBC's The Voice. He was a student at Winthrop at the time. And so I got to interview him by phone. It was right after COVID hit us, really hard, and everybody got sent home. But that was another podcast that I did. You've got to play with Adobe Suite when you're doing all this stuff, and because you're working with the sound and video in some instances and stuff. So that was a really rewarding experience to kind of get a variety of things going for me. With the Johnsonian, I try to be active on Twitter. I think we could boost our social presence as a whole. So I've just kind of taken it upon myself to, kind of do that on my own page and develop my own little platform and personality where I try to share our sports stories from time to time, and as well as just engage in the community, and have conversations on Twitter with people who I'm not really familiar with, but I know, they're an alumni or they're just a Winthrop fan, and try and engage with them on Twitter. And I try and have fun with it too. So sometimes, I'll just get on Photoshop and make a meme or something, make a fun video in Adobe Premiere. That's when I'm feeling creative. Not always the case, but try and like produce things too that sometimes people eat that up more than a story. They might not click on a story and take 5 minutes to read whatever you wrote, but they might watch a funny 30-second video and give you a follow and a like for that. So I think just trying to be creative and produce stuff that people enjoy and people like and interact with is probably something that I could do even more of.
In this new age of technology with so many different forms of content to consume on social media and podcasting and radio and things of that nature, is having that Adobe Suite presence in your arsenal more important now than ever, so that you can produce content in all forms for people to consume, like you said, and get likes in any way, shape, or form?
Definitely. And to my future employer, I hope I can maybe have a login pass where maybe this can be included in my contract, because Adobe is expensive, and I'm grateful to have free access to it, through the school, through Winthrop and my Winthrop login. And I like I said, I hope my future employer can offer that to me, because I think it's really, like, it's big. You can create so much video and graphics and stuff with Adobe, and I feel like I've gotten somewhat good at it, at least. I'm not a perfect by any means. There's always a ton more I could do, to make things cooler, and all these effects and stuff that people know way more about than I do. But it's definitely like something cool to have in my back pocket, so to speak, and be able to show them, like, hey, I can do this, and maybe this, what if we put this fun video together? It won't take long at all. And like, maybe that'll attract people to read our stories, or, stuff like that. So it's definitely a nice thing to have. And that I will credit Dr. Casco and Dr. Nortz, other people in mass comm department at Winthrop, for really giving us practice on those softwares, and giving us the opportunity to use those, because I really enjoy them. And again, that's something that can be a headache at times as you're trying to like learn how to use them. Like, it can be really overwhelming at first, but once you get the hang of it and you just kind of take it slow, they're super cool.
Is there a project that you're most proud of, whether it's a story that you wrote or something you created in the Adobe Suite? Is there one project that sticks out in your mind that you're just more proud of than anything else you'd ever done at Winthrop?
Man, that's tough. Oh gosh. Well, one thing that I'm proud to be a part of right now, and this is maybe not exactly what you're looking for, but I'm a member of the Student Media Poll, which is something that was just founded this year, or I guess this school year, so to speak. Patrick Phelps from Indiana, as a student at Indiana, and he founded what's now called the Student Media Poll, where we're doing something similar to AP in ranking our top 25 teams each week. And so Patrick and a bunch of other students from all over the country, different universities, did it for football season, college football season. I wasn't a part of that, but when basketball season hit, I've been doing the men's basketball poll. And I think that's something like that I can, put on a resume for sure. And I'm just really excited for like where it can go in the future. I graduate in May, so like I won't be a student anymore. I won't be part of it, but I'm going to be supporting that like crazy, because I think I would love to see it rival AP one day, hopefully sooner than later. I think like having given students that voice, students that literally are probably closer to the teams than these other, high-ranking media members are, and probably watch more of the games than they do. I think giving them that voice and opportunity to rank the teams and give their 2 cents on them, I think that's like super cool, and I'm really surprised it hasn't been done before. So shout out again to Patrick Phelps for starting that and like having that vision, because I'm really proud to be a part of it, and I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Shout out to Patrick Phelps for sure. That definitely sounds like something I want to be a part of. The last thing I wanted to ask you was to go back to you talking about Dr. Casco and everything all the professors at Winthrop did for you. What makes the Winthrop Mass Comm experience special in your opinion? I know I had the experience of working with Dr. Meter at journalism workshops at Winthrop before. So what's your perspective on what makes the Mass Comm experience at Winthrop great?
Not to be cliche, but like you get that real like one-on-one experience very often. I looked into going to South Carolina. I really wanted to actually for the longest time. It's where my mom went. I'm a big Gamecock fan. Shout out, I guess, to the men's basketball team that once again broke my heart and missed the NCAA tournament. But South Carolina, like their class sizes are huge, and you're now like a tiny fish in a huge sea, so to speak. But at Winthrop, like class sizes are not that big. Your professors are literally talking to you almost, one-on-one almost every class, and like or if you need help, like there's literally class time where you can get that one-on-one attention. And of course you can go to their office, all that stuff. They're super accessible. But I think like the other thing is just how much of a variety of opportunity there is to learn. I've been a part of the Johnsonian really since freshman year, because I was a staff writer my first 2 years. And that was cool because I had no experience with journalism whatsoever before coming to Winthrop. Like I had no idea what I was doing. Sports editors at the time, Greta Comboy and Gabby Gardner, like the amount of trust they had in me, like I still appreciate that, because as I said earlier about something, I had zero cred. And I think that's cool. I don't think you get that at a bigger school. Like you would have to work your way up, whereas Winthrop, like I got the opportunity to write immediately. And maybe that answers your question too earlier about like when did I realize that like this is something I wanted to do. I guess as early as freshman year too, because like I got that opportunity right away and was like, wow, this is something like it's kind of cool. And I'm not super good at it, but I'm getting better at it because I'm getting repeated opportunities to do that. So just to have that opportunity right away with the newspaper. And then you mentioned Dr. Meter, who is one of the professors in charge of our Winthrop Close-Up news broadcast. I've gotten to do that one semester, where we've got a whole TV studio, and you get to practice being in the studio on the soundboard and all that, but also on camera, going out and shooting your own stand-ups and stuff. It's like perfect practice for a newsroom. I've gotten the opportunity to be in our radio studio. Prior to COVID, we've got a radio studio, and me and some buddies, we literally had a weekly 2-hour sports show where Dr. Casco was gracious enough to let us ramble on about our terrible sports takes for 2 hours once a week. Like I just listed newspaper, TV, and radio, and I've in 4 years I've gotten a healthy experience in all three of those things. And when you supplement your classes in there too, and continue to like learn more about how to get better at these things, it's just in my opinion, Winthrop is a fantastic place. Come to Winthrop, all you prospective students. I'll end my sales pitch now, but I think the biggest point is like that opportunity is there right away, whereas at bigger schools, it might take you some time to kind of work your way up to getting that opportunity.
Well said. I think all our prospective students will appreciate the perspective you just gave and all the narrative that you actually could give about what made your experience so enriching, with all the professors and everything you got to do in the different forms of media you have experience in. That's all for episode 6 of Media Conversations with Malik Cooper. Once again, you can follow Matthew at Shealy_sports on Twitter and Instagram for more content from him. And to get more from me, you can follow my Instagram at Malik Cooper Media and on Twitter at Malik_Cooper. And like I said, you can expect episode 7 on March 28th. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you then. Matthew, is there any last thoughts that you'd like to give our audience?
Hey, Malik, you are an awesome dude, and I appreciate you having me on the pod. And I look forward to seeing what all you do in covering Winthrop sports and Rock Hill. And I know you're going to be fantastic just with this conversation we've had. And I'm excited to continue my coverage as well. So we're going to have to collab sometime for sure.
Absolutely. We'll get right on that. Yeah, that's all for episode 6, everyone. Episode 7 coming out on March 28th. I will see you then, and thank you for listening.